Hello, I'm Michelle Robertson, a therapist.
Hey, I'm Frank Collins, a marriage and family therapist.
And we're both with Cumberland Counseling Centers. And we are here today to talk about feelings because our emotional health, it is just as important as our physical, spiritual, and mental health. It's all related and connected. If we want to be holistically healthy, then processing our emotions and expressing our feelings, that's crucial. I want to begin with scripture to highlight that our feelings are gifts from God. He created them, all of them. I appreciate what Solomon writes in Ecclesiastes. He says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance." This says to me that we are guaranteed to experience the full range of emotions. Life is hard and complicated and beautiful and joyful. And God knows this, or he wouldn't have put it in his word. Understanding our feelings, that's at the very heart of what it means to understand, of what it means to be a human. Emotional health requires awareness. Some of our feelings are painful and seem intolerable at times. And we're not born with an innate sense of what it means to be emotionally regulated. In fact, one of our first emotions is with anxiety. We're infants in our cribs and we have a dirty diaper and we're hungry. And the only way we know how to express that is to cry out to our parents, to cry out to our caregivers. And they're the ones who teach us how to be emotionally regulated. And their parents are the ones who taught them. But there are many factors that go into that. We may not have had sound education on how to be emotionally regulated. And additionally, trauma, neglect, abuse, those can all impact our ability to regulate our emotions into adulthood. But the truth is, our feelings, they cannot be ignored. And some of us have gone to great lengths to try to suppress or avoid uncomfortable feelings, which ends up causing harm to ourselves and in our relationships. The healthiest approach, the best approach, is to express our feelings, to process our emotions, to recognize and name our feelings so that we can respond appropriately. Now I'd like to touch on the difference between emotions and feelings because those terms are often used interchangeably and they're not the same thing. And it's easy to get them confused, and I know I do it too because they are so connected. Emotions, those are physiological responses to a stimulus. Emotions start in the body, like heart palpitations and sweating and tightening in our chest, blushing. Think of emotions as the raw data. Feelings are how we make sense of our emotions. If emotions are the raw data, feelings are the result of that data getting filtered through our personalities and our past experiences. Feelings help us to name what we're experiencing. They're the words that we attach to our experience. Words like amused, daring, excited, frustrated, insecure, relaxed. Those are feelings. Now let's go deeper into our feelings. Something that is so significant to emotional health is that feelings are neither good nor bad. They aren't positive or negative. They're neutral. Some are more comfortable than others, that is certain, but none are bad. No feelings are wrong to have. Your feelings are valid. Does that mean that they reveal absolute truth? No, not really. Since our emotional data is running through those filters of our personality and our past experiences, feelings have bias. That's why it's also true that our feelings are individualized. The feelings that you may have toward a certain experience could be different than what I feel because we have our own unique filters. Of most significance is that our feelings are meant to be expressed. We discuss that our feelings inform our experiences, but they are not meant to stay within the walls of our hearts. They're meant to be shared and expressed. Look at the Psalms. you can see every human emotion expressed in this one book of scripture. Now, the ways that you can share your feelings are by talking to a trusted friend, a therapist. You can journal about them. Or in prayer, you can cry out to God in prayer. You can express your feelings through crying, laughter, singing, sighing even can be an expression of an emotion, and through the creative arts. When you think of your emotional response as starting in the body, that's energy. And it's energy that needs to be processed. It needs to be worked through. The last thing that I want to mention about feelings is this: to become more emotionally aware and healthy, to increase your emotional IQ, if you will, start with curiosity. I love Proverbs 18:15. It says, "The heart of the discerning acquires knowledge, for the ears of the wise speak it out." Replace any inclination to judge your experiences, to wag your finger at yourself as though you shouldn't feel a certain way. Instead, replace that with a genuine curiosity, a desire to become more knowledgeable about your feelings. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? Why may I be feeling this way? And how could this feeling be informing me to change or grow or care for myself in a different way?
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm going to take it from there and kind of unpack on what Michelle has already built out. She's given us a really beautiful overview of kind of the source of our emotions and what it's like to feel and experience emotion, and then breaking that down into what feelings may be underneath that experience. And so again, growing in emotional awareness is empowering because we're able to discern what are the driving forces that are influencing the way that we live and interact with other people. So even if we don't acknowledge our emotions, they're still heavily influencing our decisions and our relationships. And so it's really helpful to begin growing in emotional awareness and emotional intelligence, which allows us to respond deliberately with clarity and confidence in challenging situations instead of being reactive or doing something that we end up regretting later on. So having insight, as Michelle so clearly pointed out, allows us to grow in being certain that even though we're feeling a lot of things, we can still be connected and integrated in our response. And so today I'm briefly going to address two emotions or feelings, anger and anxiety, that we all experience in different forms. We will unpack these feelings and kind of go deeper into the heart and see what's beneath the surface a lot of times. So anger is a very normal feeling. It's common to the human experience, but many times it's avoided or suppressed because it can be uncomfortable to experience. And so if unaddressed in time, it can often become distorted. And a lot of times we see these immature or inappropriate expressions of anger when people explode, and their anger can become destructive to themselves or others. Oftentimes the angry person is seeking to gain control or power over themselves, another person, or the situation that is really uncomfortable or that's threatening to them. The solution lies not in avoiding or suppressing our anger, but identifying and acknowledging the fears and the context that has triggered our angry response. A mature expression of anger is actually vulnerable and connected to the deeper realities of hurts and insecurities that are bringing out this passionate response. When we're able to slow down and calm down, we can begin to understand that our anger is actually a helpful red flag that's letting us know that there's something happening beneath the surface, that there's a passion within us that we need to respect and seek clarity. Dr. Chip Dodd states that anger is a passionate response that also indicates the experience of other feelings. I like this simple definition because it's helpful to know there's two things going on, that I care very deeply and I'm not sure what else I'm feeling. This is helpful for us to approach, as Michelle mentioned, with curiosity to understand what may be going on in my value system, or where am I feeling violated or wronged. This is a critical step to do this reflection to make an informed decision in moving forward. For example, if I get angry every day on my commute to work because of the bad traffic, I can try to control my anger or suppress my anger and just deal with it. Yet, if I'm only addressing it in these ways, it's going to happen the next day when I run into the bad traffic again, and I'm going to feel frustrated. But if I can unpack that and explore what's making me angry, it's making me late to work. I feel stressed. I feel anxious to be late. I feel embarrassed to be late for my first meeting again. I feel overwhelmed and disempowered that there's nothing that I can do once I'm in the car. I'm able to look at all these emotions, compassionately see, no wonder I'm angry. And then I can reflect and make an informed choice of maybe I should leave earlier for work. Maybe I should ask if we can move the meeting later, and come to my own aid and be aware of the things that are creating a context that's allowing me to get angry. And again, it's helpful to thoughtfully reflect on these cycles that we see coming up in our life and relationships in order that we can create meaningful change and feel a sense of empowerment that oftentimes we're trying to get through our angry response. This also shows up in our intimate relationships, that we can get angry or frustrated with our partner. And it's helpful to start to recognize these patterns and take some time away, even though a lot of times we want to respond immediately in the moment, and try to explore what are the deeper realities happening in my heart, and how can I express these needs vulnerably to my partner. So that's a general overview of anger. There's a lot of excellent resources out there. And if this is a challenge for you, we'd highly encourage you to do counseling or therapy. It's normal to experience anger. And it can be really helpful to have someone walk you through that process of how you can get deeper into your heart and make better decisions from that place. So anxiety is also something we see a lot in counseling, and it's a very common emotional experience to us all. The presence of anxiety in our lives almost always reveals an unmet underlying need. And so most of the time we try to act like we're not anxious, or our anxiety can be all-consuming. And so what we need is to create a sense of safety where we can explore that anxiety again with a sense of curiosity. And we need to create a sense of security for ourselves that we can calm down and kind of create space to reflect on what may be going on here. We honor ourselves and our own intuition by thoughtfully listening to our hearts, thoughtfully unpacking our anxiety, and even asking a question such as, what's at risk for me in this situation? Many times we feel anxious about things that haven't even happened yet. So a lot of times anxiety comes from focusing a lot on the future, and we fear things such as failure or rejection and loss. And this type of anxiety can keep us out of the present, and it has us thinking about hypothetical situations. And so one of the first things that we do is we try to ground ourselves in the present moment, be aware of our five senses, where we are. We try to be where our feet are, and try to take in that data of what do I need in this moment, and slowly start to connect with our bodies and realize maybe I need a break, maybe I need time to reflect, or maybe I just need to go talk to a trusted friend to feel a sense of community and affirmation. Other times we feel anxious about unprocessed emotions. So these can be things from the past or even the present that are not fully processed, integrated, or fully understood. So sometimes we find ourselves being fearful or defensive or reactive, and we're seeking to find control because we don't know totally what's going on inside of us. This is a normal experience for most of us, and we need time to be able to slow down, kind of honor our story, and figure out what's happening behind my anxiety. A lot of times people that have experienced a significant loss experience anxiety because the grieving process is really out of our control, and it comes up. It can be triggered by different people or situations, or even when we slow down, those uncomfortable, sometimes emotions of sadness or grief or anger will come to the surface, and we'll feel anxiety because we won't know why that's happening. Also, people may experience anxiety when they're in a certain context, such as a work meeting or being around certain friends. And if you slow down, you'll be able to start to realize, oh, I'm anxious because there was tension in our meeting last week that was never fully addressed. Or I always feel manipulated by this person, or sometimes I feel overlooked. And if you start to connect with your heart and identify what's the energy behind my anxiety, you can engage in a different way, such as advocating for resolution, or you can kind of listen to your heart and your discernment and be like, maybe I'm going to engage with this friend with different boundaries if it's someone who has maybe taken up too much space in my life in the past. So again, exploring our emotions, even though it takes time, can really allow us to act with more clarity and confidence. Finally, as we learn to connect with our heart, as we learn to slow down and expand our emotions, we really begin to enjoy our lives more and experience joy and the delight of being present, which allows us to be more fully ourselves. Because a lot of times an unidentified emotional process will take over. And once we're able to create space for our emotions to grow and to wane, then we can learn to be comfortable with ourselves, with the varying degrees of emotions, and realize that we're still okay, even though we're feeling something that's uncomfortable. And this takes time and it takes practice. And so as you guys are learning, as I'm learning, I would encourage you to journal and to reflect and to talk to trusted others who are emotionally connected, and they can even help you explore what may be going on more deeply in your heart. Thanks a lot for listening.
Thanks.